hip thrust variation that you probably have not tried. So, also known as a glute bridge, it's working on hip extension, and a lot of people like to do these with their feet on the floor, and then just lift their hips up into the air, or it's become really popular these days as well to have your chest elevated on the side of a bench or a box and be lifting the hips up into the air. So that would look like this, right, if we're coming up all the way. Now, one of the reasons I like this version quite a bit is because when we elevate the feet, we're less likely to try to use our back muscles to do it, and we're more likely to feel the work in the hamstrings, in the glutes, where we're trying to get that work to happen. So you could use a low box, you could use a bench if you're at the gym, any elevated surface that's probably somewhere between 1 and 2 feet tall is gonna work really well for this. So you're just gonna lie down on your back, you're gonna have your arms by your sides, and we're gonna bring our feet up onto that surface. Depending on how high it is and where it's at, you might have your feet more on the edge of the box or the bench. You might be a little bit more up on top. From here, we're pressing our arms down, and you're gonna use your hamstrings and your glutes to roll your hips up off of the floor and try to get to a straight line from your shoulders to your hips to your knees. Now, most of us will wanna stop down here. We need to tuck the pelvis and lift all the way out. Think of reaching your knees out over your toes and then roll back down. And again, this is a place where if you usually feel a lot of hip thrusts or glute bridges through the low back, or you don't really feel a lot of work in the backs of the legs, try lifting those feet up on top of something, and you'll feel there's a lot more work here now in tucking the pelvis, reaching the knees out over the toes, and keeping our abs active. It's no longer an advantage to kind of hyperextend the low back and try to overlift there, like it can be when we do these elsewhere. So up at the top, one more time. I'm going to show you that nice lift at the top. We're tucking the pelvis, we're keeping our abs engaged, so we're not overarching it all here. We're keeping the mid back down and really lifting low back, squeezing through those legs. You can get a little inner thigh at the top for a little extra work, kind of pulling the knees towards each other, making sure they're not rolling out too wide. And that is your feet elevated glute bridge.